Talk. Find his work at NFL.com, as well as on Twitter at Eric_Edholm. It is Eric Edholm. Eric, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
We were talking before we brought you on at the top of the show about all this Sam Darnold smoke, about him potentially being the starting quarterback for the 49ers, at least to start the season and maybe further. The latest on the Rich Eisen show, Louis Riddick said that he might be the surprise out of nowhere starting quarterback of the 49ers, according to sources. Is there fire to this smoke, or is this just the boring time of the NFL calendar and we need things to talk about?
Well, you're not wrong about the last part. I mean, that is definitely true industry-wide. I'm probably guilty of it myself. And I was fascinated when they signed him. I thought, okay, I understand the need for insurance, right? You're talking about a guy with 50-plus starts in the NFL. And, frankly, he played pretty well down the stretch last year, and you can watch any Sam Darnold game where if you made a cut-up of, Sam Darnold's 20 greatest plays, you'd say, wow, why isn't this guy a Pro Bowler? Well, you then would show the 100 worst plays and understand that he's inconsistent. He's got a talented arm. I mean, he's a quarterback who can make plays that, only a handful of guys can make. And he also makes the routine plays that you don't expect an NFL, or rather, he misses the routine plays that you would expect an NFL starter to get through. So, on the surface, did I realistically think he was going to challenge Trey Lance and or Purdy, depending on his health in that situation? No. But when you hear people with a lot of respect and who are connected and dialed in on the league saying these kinds of things, you have to take it seriously. And boy, it would lead me to ask, has Trey Lance's stock fallen that far, or has his trajectory gone that far off course in the last, 9-10 months or whatever? I don't know. It seems awfully early to be giving up on him, but I don't know the big picture.
Eric, you spoke about Trey Lance, and I mean, just in your professional opinion, what do you think if Trey Lance was to hit the open market? And I know we're spitballing and guessing. Right. What do you think Trey brings back for the 49ers?
Well, it wouldn't be what they paid, obviously, and that's part of the deal. I mean, you have to figure out what's the best situation for the team, and is holding on to him the better plan here. We've seen, young quarterbacks either, lose a job or head-to-head battle or something like that, and, kind of be put on ice for a little bit and then finally get their opportunity later. We've seen guys have to bide their time. Jimmy Garoppolo, for instance, is a good example of that. Somebody who had to wait patiently behind Tom Brady. Obviously, Jordan Love's in a situation too where he's finally getting his chance with Aaron Rodgers gone. But it's really hard to say because he is so young. He came into the league so green, and it was all projection really, and that's the biggest thing. I don't know that every team valued him the way the 49ers did, but I know there were a lot who were fascinated. I think most teams interested in him seem to want to bring him along at a pace where they could monitor his growth and, kind of keep an eye on him for a year before he was even put in a position to possibly start. I don't know. I have a hard time putting a number on it. If they were to just put him out for trade right now and say anyone can have him, first of all, we just had the draft. 4 quarterbacks, it went relatively high, I think you would say. And yeah, there are some teams who'd be interested for sure, but I think the timing matters, and you'd want to see him play some good football, I think, before, offering him up. But, yeah, far less than what they paid for sure.
Is it crazy to say, talking with Eric Edholm, NFL.com here on Cattles Ramie, Sactown Sports, would it be crazy to say that no matter which one of those 3 guys is quarterback, I could see this 49ers team in the NFC Championship, at least?
I just submitted my story for the 10 best rosters. You guys are getting a little sneak preview of it before anybody else, just so you know. Being edited now, but I mean, I had him as one of the, I don't know if they were either 3rd or 4th on my list of most talented rosters, and that's including the confusing quarterback situation. And obviously, having 3 quarterbacks who are at least capable of starting is probably a good thing. But sorting it all out is another matter as well. But I may not have loved every draft pick they've made the last 4 or 5 years, but they found a way to accumulate depth. Obviously, there's going to be the matter of replacing yet another defensive coordinator. I mean, Steve Wilkes, obviously a veteran coach, done a lot of good things in this league. His coached at the college level too, and has a good understanding of defensive football. I think he'll be fine. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Eagles are going to be a threat. Cowboys are going to be a threat. They'll always be that Vikings/Giants type team that comes out of nowhere and becomes a contender. But I don't know that there's in it all things being equal kind of situation where their quarterbacks aren't banged up in the game. I think they play a much better game against a team like the Eagles, and can stack up pretty well with them if they're fully healthy.
Joined by Eric Edholm of NFL.com. Eric, Davante Adams said this week he just doesn't seem to like the way the offense looks on paper when it comes to schemes for the Raiders. Of course, you aren't Davante Adams, so you can't tell me exactly what he means by that. But what's your take on his comments this past week?
Pretty interesting, right? I mean, like you said, slow time of the year, these things get a little more magnification and that sort of thing. But, I kind of wondered how that situation would work in the first place. And obviously now you've kind of changed the dynamic of the offense a little bit, new quarterback, new receiving help, outside of Davante, and Jacoby coming in on a pretty good deal, expected to contribute right away. They moved the tight end out, Waller, and it's a little bit confusing what it might look like this year. But yeah, when you hear a star player who's at the peak of his powers making comments that can be viewed as critical of what they're doing there, it's hard not to get a little concerned. But he's been so good. He's been quarterback proof. I mean, he's gotten a big volume for, when he was there last year, even with Jacobs carrying the ball as much as they did. I mean, there are plenty of reasons to have a little bit of suspicion about what's going on with the Josh McDaniels situation and guys he's run off and whatnot. But, it also threatens to maybe upset the team dynamic a little bit if you have a player, calling things out like that.
I don't want you to give away your whole column or article with the question before and the question I'm about to ask, but can you give me, now that most of the offseason dust has settled, and I know there might be a few more cuts and free agent moves, but rosters pretty much are what they are now until training camp. One team from the AFC and one team from the NFC who you think could surprise some people.
Yeah, Cleveland's one that I kind of had my eye on. I couldn't quite get them into my top 10, and that may raise an eyebrow or two. They were Cleveland, really? They were kind of ordinary last year, and there's all of a sudden this question about, can Deshaun Watson even play anymore? I mean, the version of him we saw last year after the long layoff was nothing close to the level he played out for a very bad Texans team his final year. I mean, prior to the massage therapy story coming out, I mean, he was on a 4-win team playing at a Pro Bowl level. I mean, unquestionably, I thought, so what we saw last year obviously pales in comparison, but assuming he at least sort of splits the difference and just becomes more of a functional quarterback with a dangerous arm and good running ability. You have Nick Chubb. You have more weapons at receiver. I think Elijah Moore is going to be a breakout candidate this year. They addressed the defensive tackle issue. They kind of kept some of their defensive core intact while also adding a few other pieces as well. And strong at cornerback, one of the best pass rushers in the game. They're a surprise candidate for sure. Let me try to think of a good NFC one that isn't obvious. Like if I said the Detroit Lions, you guys would say, all right, yeah, well, we saw them in the second half of last year, but
I'd still be surprised, Eric. I'll be honest.
They are the Lions. Yeah, they are the Lions.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Honestly, what's interesting is that I happen to have two separate conversations with people in the league. One of them who's in, with an AFC team. So it's not like they're, talking down their rivals or anything like that, but both of them who know football and have been in this league a while kind of cast a little bit of doubt on the Lions. Everyone's kind of graduating them to the next tier, if you will. It's fair to question whether they're there yet, right? I mean, there's still some issues on defense I think that have to be sorted out. You're still hoping Jared Goff plays at kind of career best level like he did last year. You're missing your speedball receiver, Jameson Williams, for 6 games suspension. They're breaking in a new running back, Jahmyr Gibbs, who comes in with a lot of pressure, 12th pick in the draft. So yeah, there's there's some things that need sorting out. And just because Aaron Rodgers left the division doesn't mean they're going to be handed the NFC North crown.
That is Eric Edholm. Check out his work at NFL.com, on Twitter at Eric_Edholm, and our guest here for the last few minutes. We appreciate the time and the insight, Eric. Let's do it again soon.
Sounds good. Have a great day. See ya.
He joins us on the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Back to the NBA. Some rumors, some news, some